Hello, I'm Josh Carr, and today I'd like to show you the basics of logging into U Rite and creating your first model. So to start with, I'm going to assume that you've already downloaded U Rite and installed it. If you've not downloaded it already and installed it, you will need to go to U Rite's website at u-rite.com, and you can see the link in the upper right-hand corner for downloading the software. But assuming you've downloaded it and installed it, you go to login, you put in your email and your password. Probably want to check that box, remember email, so it remembers you next time you log in. Press submit, and now you are looking at the U Rite engine. At this point, we could create a new deal. Now, I already do have a deal here, 111 Anywhere Street, but I'm going to create a new one. But as you can see right now, it currently has one asset in there. It says the size of the portfolio. It has some information about what's active, what's closed, what have you. Let's create another one just to show you how the software works. I will create a new deal, and I put in some basic information. Now, I could also do this directly from Excel, but for now, we're going to do it from inside the U Rite engine. Later, again, we could do it from Excel, but we need to start somewhere. So since we already have 111 Anywhere Street, let me create a totally unrelated asset, 123 Anywhere Street, and I could describe it. I could say it's an office building. I could say it's 100,000 feet. If you don't like feet and you want to do it in square meters, you can change the unit of measurement. That's up to you. I will say it's an income producing property. People use this product for a lot of things, but income producing is definitely something it can do. It's a commercial asset. I could put in some notes. I don't have to. But if I wanted to say, I don't know, it's located in upstate New York or something, you could put some information in there. But again, you certainly don't have to. I'll press submit. And now after a moment, we can see that we're inside of 123 Anywhere Street. That's an active deal. I could click on it and see how when I float over it, it says open in Excel. Once I've created it in the U Rite engine, I then click on that link and it will create 123 Anywhere Street that I can open. I'll enable editing. And now this file is hooked up to U Rite. So if I go to the top here, you'll see there's now this toolbar called U Rite. This appears on your toolbar. It's customized. It's there. What we now do to start putting information is I press the Open U Rite button. It goes back to U Rite. And again, I might have to log in and get the password. Hold on, I just got to copy my password. Get the password. Again, press Remember Me. And now we're back to the engine again. So now here comes the fun part. I can now put in some information. Now the way this is going to work is I'm going to put in the information. It's going to do the calculations in the cloud inside of U Rite, and then it's going to push the results back out to that Excel workbook. So let me put in some very basic information. I'm going to put in a tenant. I'm going to put in some operating expenses, and I'll build a quick and simple market leasing profile. So to start with, I will press Add, and I'm going to add a single tenant. For now, I'll say it's an office tenant. It's the entire 100,000 feet of the building. Let me see when I'm starting this deal from. I'll go to Acquisitions. Let me say, I don't know, let me say that I'm starting this deal 2026, January 01. I'm going to say this tenant starts 2026, January 01, and they're there for 5 years. When I put in the 5, you can see the end date now says 2030, which, makes sense because that's 5 years. And let's put in some other information. I'm going to say the tenant is paying us $40 a foot, and the rent will grow at 3% per year. It'll be a net lease. There's a free rent period, maybe 3 months of free rent. I could put in a tenant improvement. Maybe I'm spending $15 a foot to build out the space. I'm paying a commission that is 5% of the lease. Over here, again, recoveries are net. Yeah, so over there, this net was having to do the free rent. This net is the recovery, and that's fine. Now, that's great. The tenant's paying $40. Let's put in an operating expense. For now, to make things easy, I'll just say we have an operating expense that I'll just call taxes, and maybe I have another one that I'll call operating costs. And I'm going to make taxes maybe $5 per foot. And I'll make the other operating costs $10 a foot. Okay, so 5 and 10. All good. And then finally, I probably want to put in some rules for what will happen when this tenant expires. Like, it's all fine and good that I have a 5-year tenant, and that according to the sale tab, that I'm going to have a hold period that is 10 years. But if the tenant's going to be there for 5 years and the hold period is 120 months or 10 years, I probably should put in a set of rules for what will happen when the tenant expires. So I'll add a method. I'll give this method a good name. Something like office profile. That's a good name. I mean, it's not a great name. A great name would be something like, office floors through 20. Something that explains the method. But for now, it's fine that we did that. Once I create that profile, I want to make sure that up here, this tenant is connected to that profile. We can see that it's going to market, but I haven't hooked it up yet. I will hook it up to the office profile. Okay, so what do I put in the office profile? Well, I'll just put in some basic information. I'm not going to go crazy here. I'll say there's a 75% chance when the tenant rolls over, it renews. New leases will be 5 years. There'll be 6 months of downtime when the tenant leaves. And maybe I'll say that we have a rent that is, I don't know, 45 for new tenants and 40 for renewal. That there will be some growth on this market leasing profile. Maybe there's 3 months of free rent on a new tenant, none on a renewing. Maybe I put in that I have some tenant improvements of 15 for new tenants and 5 for renewing. I could do a commission that is, say, 5 and 3. And I'll leave my recoveries alone. And now we have some basic information, right? We have a tenant, we have some expenses, we have a market leasing profile. Note, I have put in no formulas. All I've done is put in some inputs. Now that those inputs are there, all I have to do is go up here to the upper right-hand corner and press the Run button. Give it a moment. And then after I ran it, now that it has been run, I will press the Show Excel button, and we should see that in the Excel workbook, we have some information. Now, of course, here, the information, well, you know, it's interesting. I mean, we can see that, for example, we can see that it's not there for a period of time because the deal started in 25, but the tenant moves in 26. We can see that we have some rent, we have some expense recoveries, we have some expenses, we have the cost of putting the tenant in, and when I scroll over to the right, we have some sort of roll. Well, that's the tenant moving in, and we should see about 5 years later, we should see that there's some downtime when the tenant comes to an end. We get some sort of weighted average calculation here where it says, well, you know, there's a probability they stay, there's a probability they go. It calculates the rent and the free rent and the tenant improvements and the commissions, and it basically does what you'd expect. Essentially, it's doing all these calculations, and at no point did the calculations get done in Excel. All the calculations were done in the cloud. So basically, to review, you go to U Rite, you create a deal. You connect the deal to Excel by simply clicking a link. You then go back to U Rite and you load in whatever inputs you need. And then when you're all nice and done, you press a button, it pushes everything back out to Excel, and well, you're done. It's done all the work for you. And at no point did I have to enter a single formula. If you've ever tried to do this the hard way, well, there's a reason they call it the hard way. Anyway, I hope this has been useful for an introduction to the basics of using the U Rite product. Again, my name's Josh, and I've enjoyed spending time with you. Thanks again.